What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Established Run's NBA Injury Report Analysis Show. Post-trade deadline edition, but plenty of news and injury and who's available to cover today. 11 games ahead of us. These 2 days, Friday back-to-back, Saturday in advance of the Super Bowl. Post-trade deadline are a grind. With me to get through it, Justin Fan from Underdog Fantasy, Mike Gallagher from Established Run. Justin, how are you post-trade deadline?
Surviving. I think we're all counting down the days until All-Star break. Nothing like eating breakfast at 6 p.m. yesterday. Stuff like that happens during this time of year, but we got through it. And just making vacation plans right now, getting the heck away from the country and out of the country, away from basketball. Want nothing to do with it for a week, and excited for the to come. Man, we're all kind of burnt out at this point.
Gallagher, how are you?
Same sentiment. Ready for the All-Star break. Made it. Brody ran out of food this week, so I had to run out and get him food today. But what doesn't kill you and haze you makes you a more wise man or something, I guess, for Pistons double pun, which is sort of my word game's just not there. We're ready to go though. Let's go. We got a nice rundown. We're gonna cover all the teams today that are on the slate. It should be really fun.
Let's get to it. Let's kind of keep this game by game thing that we're going with. Let's start with the Spurs. Man, what a disaster of an injury report here. Keldon Johnson, Trey Jones, Romeo Langford, Jeremy Sohan, Charles Bassey, all out. They traded Josh Richardson. They traded Jakob Poeltl. Justin, who the hell's left on this team, and who are they playing tonight in the Tankathon game of the night? San Antonio at Detroit.
So we were counting 9 available prior to the Gorgui Dieng signing. We were waiting for official confirmation that he's actually going to be available and an option tonight before we send out an updated list. So it's either 9 or 10, depending on Gorguy's status. And right now, I think we're pretty comfortable with 3 of those starters being Malachi Branham, Keita Bates-Diop, and Zach Collins, right? And right now, we have Blake Wesley and Isaiah Roby penciled in as the other starters. I could see Stanley Johnson as well. We were kind of debating what way we want to go. But either way, it's going to be pretty condensed today. A little bit of surprise because we got the upgrade from Trey and Sohan to questionable. They were that shoot around. We thought they were going to play. And then they all just got mass ruled out. So obviously going to be a kind of a skeleton group tonight. All the work from Malachi Branham again. We've seen, big workloads, big usage runs from him when they've been shorthanded as of late. And then no Jakob Poeltl means Zach Collins time, especially now that Charles Bassey, he's still out in the G League on the last injury report and may or may not have Gorgui Dieng. So I think he has a pretty high minutes floor. We love attacking bigs versus Detroit. Went in on Jared Allen last game. He rewarded us with a double-double in a blowout. So I think Collins and Branham are the 2 guys that stand out for me on the Spurs side.
Any thoughts?
Co-sign. Co-sign pretty much everything you said. I'm also expecting Wesley to get the start. Hey, if you're gonna tank all the way in, man. It's like Trey and Sohan like, I'm feeling great today, and they're like, hey, look at this. My leg. I can't play today. But I think you nailed it. I'm definitely expecting a lot of Wesley. I'm curious to see how frequent this happens because the stakes are high for Wembanyama. But I don't have too much to add. Fan as usual covers it.
All right, let's move to the Pistons side of things. No new injuries to note here. They only traded Sadiq Bey. They get in James Weissman, who they say is going to start whenever he arrives, which will not be tonight. Shocking to me, given the way Jalen Duren has played to this point in the season, but they're going to, continue to do the musical chairs with top draft picks at the center position and see how things go. So no Weissman expected tonight. No Sadiq Bey. Gallagher, how are you expecting Detroit to line up tonight?
Just one thing to add. So Fan and I talked about this yesterday on the quote-unquote plan to start Weissman. We don't really know what that plan is. Maybe it's the next game. Maybe it's 2 weeks from now. Maybe it's next season. Who knows, Mm-hmm. So just to add that, expecting, basically the same starters here. They're going to really need the shooting. So we'll see if Isaiah Livers becomes more of a spot-up guy. They really like his shooting. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get an uptick in minutes. Alec Burks, we saw him come off the bench. It'd be really bad. We kind of were reading between the lines, maybe too much on, possible trade talk there. But it seems like Casey wants to roll with that. So I'd expect those guys to pick up some minutes. Hamidou Diallo as well. Nerlens Noel got the not with team tag. So he's basically going to get bought out, it sounds like. Just reading between the lines there too. So yeah, should have a pretty straightforward rotation, but they're definitely going to miss Bay. A lot of shots to go around. Probably more beef stew shooting threes too. They're just going to need more shooting to replace one of their biggest volume 3-point shooters.
Any additional notes here, Justin?
No, I think Hayes sticks in the starting lineup. The Alec Burks trade showcase period is over, and they really need Burks' offense and shot creation at second unit, especially since they don't have Saddiq Bey anymore. So expecting that Ivy Hayes backcourt to continue. And we have a 9-man rotation right now with those same starters, and then Corey Joseph, Alec Burks, Hamidou Diallo, and Isaiah Livers off the bench. They just signed that guy on that 10-way or that 10-day rather, who is back and forth in the G-League squad, but don't have him for minutes yet. But so expecting a 9-man rotation today with Ivy and Hayes starting that backcourt.
Yeah, one thing to add to that adds a little bit more minute ceiling, right? We saw the minute ceiling come way down on Ivy when they were playing killing behind him because they wanted to, quote, get him confidence. So now they're not competing for minutes anymore in a spot we're going to want to attack, right? We just talked about how bad this team's going to be on the other side. So pretty attractive spot for those guards.
If they did go 10-man here, Rodney Magruder probably next in line to be that 10th guy. Something to keep an eye on there. 9 versus 10 is a big deal in terms of rotation sizes, in terms of minute ceilings for how it impacts everyone. So something to keep an eye on post-trade, how Detroit adapts as they're without Noel, Kevin Knox, Bay. All these guys moved or bought out, or we expect to. Let's move to the Suns, who are on the second night of a back-to-back here. One of 2 teams on back-to-backs, them and the Milwaukee Bucks on this slate. Devin Booker expected back tonight on some sort of minutes limit, played 25 the first game. They acquire TJ Warren and Darius Bazley along with Kevin Durant at the trade deadline. Justin, do you have any idea of availability there for either of those players?
TJ Warren, Darius Bazley will not make their debuts tonight. They will join the Suns at some point in the future, so they're for sure not playing tonight. So starting lineup should be Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Torrey Craig, and they might go Jock Landale and again next to DeAndre Ayton, or they might go small with Damian Lee. We'll see. This is a matchup against the Pacers side where they are playing a smaller team that likes to play Nesmith at the 4. So we'd probably go away from Landale and that bigger look into a more smaller look in this matchup. But yeah, I think there's so much volatility as we saw with Landale and Damian Lee last game in their spot starts. Like they got blown out. They were down by double digits like most of the game. We saw like Ish Wainwright play a ton off the bench. Okogie played a ton off the bench. So stay away from me in this 3-4 spot, until TJ Warren and some of these other guys get back and fill some minutes and we get more stability there. So I don't have a ton to add, there in terms of minutes. It's kind of a mix up, at the 3-4 spots right now.
Yeah, I'm leaning a little more Lee over Landale. I think Landale started because A, matchup, with more size against the bigger front court, and B, they kind of needed to, right? You've got 3 bigs, you've got 1 point guard, and you got 2 wings. Like, why not just kind of let him soak up some wing minutes there? So I thought that made a lot of sense. Today, I think they start Lee. You mentioned the size as well on the other side. And Lee's been, really reliable for them. They use him on ball defense. That's a role they're going to want to help out here with Halliburton. So I would lean Lee pretty strongly. And then I'm expecting Booker. I haven't looked at minutes yet. I had to take care of Brody's food. But I think 28 is probably the number today. We saw 25. I felt really strongly about that number and nailed it. So I think 28 is kind of where they're going to want to go. But yeah, maybe it's 30, maybe. But yeah. I think 30 would probably be the high end. So maybe 28, 29 minutes is where I'd want to put them.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking as well. They are playing the Pacers. Nothing going on injury report-wise there or trade-wise, so we can kind of skip past them. The Knicks and 76ers on the Knicks side, nothing really from an injury report standpoint, obviously still without Mitch Robinson. They trade and acquire Josh Hart. He's been listed out, so we're not expecting him to make his debut tonight. So things should be relatively the same there. We've seen Sims starting over in the absence of Mitch Robinson, and then we've seen the minutes between Sims and Hartenstein be wildly variant based on kind of hot hand in the game. Any notes for you, Justin, on the Knicks situation and when we can expect to see Josh Hart?
Yeah, expecting him probably the game after this one, and the speculation is they'll still stick with that 9-man rotation. Juice McBride will get the boot. Emmanuel quickly will serve as the primary backup point guard, and they'll still run quickly Hart, Obi, and Hartenstein off the bench. So don't have a ton else to add there. We'll see the same group tonight with Deuce in there, with Hart looking like he is out / unlikely to debut.
All right,
Yep,
Philadelphia side of things, Joel Embiid, once again, questionable on the injury report. He's been playing through this questionable tag for the most part. They traded and acquired Jalen McDaniels at the trade deadline. He's not going to be available tonight. Any notes here, Mike? You've been pretty stringent in the idea and consistent in the idea that Embiid's going to keep playing through these things, and he has been. He's playing big minutes, and so I don't know why we keep getting the Q tag. But any thoughts here, Gallagher?
Yeah, they're just letting him warm up, make sure he's okay. He's definitely kind of dealing with some management of this foot thing that's been bothering him earlier this season. So feel pretty good about him playing. Definitely a famous last word situation. Not a back-to-back. So they are a back-to-back, excuse me. So that's something that could be worth looking at. So not quite as confident today, but and with an early game against Brooklyn tomorrow, that I feel like that's earlier game by an hour. So I think that's something that would be they'd be more likely to sit. But it's an NBA TV, so I don't know. But the back-to-back factor we do have to work in here. But I'm definitely leaning more in than out by, I'd probably say like 65% in.
Mm-hmm. Your thoughts there, Justin?
Yeah, national TV game tomorrow, 2 early games. So we'll see. I mean, obviously this matchup is pristine for him, so we'd love for him to go. But I don't know. I've come around on him. Like we saw last Friday, they're playing the Spurs in a clear load management spot for him, and they still played him in a blowout. So I think they're pretty comfortable with letting him go and just seeing if he has some sort of setback or swelling or discomfort during warmup. So 65, 70%. I'm with Mike on my range for Embiid today.
Okay. They are playing the Hornets, who did make some moves at the trade deadline. We think their G League guys are going to be down as well. So it might be a thinner group of options today. They traded Mason Plumlee. They traded Jalen McDaniels, who we just alluded to. This is the opportunity for Mark Williams to potentially grab the starting role. But Nick Richards was also really good earlier in the season. So, Justin, what are your expectations in terms of split from a minutes perspective here? We're expecting Mark Williams to draw the start. Is that your expectation? And then what do you think the minute split between these two guys looks like tonight?
Yeah, one of the beats that covers the team had a speculation that the split would be 26-22 with Richards at 22 and Mark Williams starting at 26. So I think that's about right. Maybe we see some small ball minutes there potentially and some matchups, but that sounds right to me. I mean, I believe Nick Richards is up after this year, and they want to maybe take another look at it and make sure that to see what they have in him. So I think he will still definitely be involved. But Mark Williams, I think, he's been in the rotation. He's earned that starting spot. I would expect him to be in there. So LaMelo, Rozier, Hayward, Washington, Mark Williams, and they're a little thin on the back end tonight. They still list James Bouknight, Kai Jones, and Maladone in the G League as of the last one. So as of now, their bench looks like DSJ, Bryce McGowens, and JT Thor, along with Nick Richards. So we'll see. I mean, this could be a situation where we see like 36 to 38 minutes for LaMelo, Rozier, and PJ Washington, and like 35 again for Gordon Hayward, like we saw last game. So this is a spot where, we could definitely see big minutes for the starters outside of Mark Williams.
Yeah, just a big role. Go ahead, Dick.
I was just going to say, it is the front end of a back-to-back for Charlotte, so it's a little bit confusing if they're not going to have their G League guys available. Like, what's kind of the point here? So I'm sort of expecting that we'll get news on that more guys are available. But like going in with an 8-man rotation on the front end of a back-to-back in a game you're huge underdogs just seems bad on a lot of levels. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, I was just going to add, just the role replacement. Obviously, the Mason Plumlee stuff is really straightforward, but Jalen McDaniels picks up a big defensive chunk. We see him sub in and out. We see him guard guys like Giannis and things like that. So I'm curious to see how this impacts Terry Rozier from like a defensive role standpoint. He's kind of got pushed down defensive priority-wise, which I think maybe has helped him a little bit on the offensive side. So now that he's got to take on a bigger burden guarding the ball more, does that affect him on the other end? It's something I kind of want to see here. So, the minutes could be so high, as fans said. They're just that missing McDaniels is like such a big deal. He just fills like so many rotation gaps when guys get rest. So Maybe they're going to play McGowan's in that role or something like that to just fill gaps there. Maybe DSJ picks up an even bigger role. So really, really big piece to lose out. Obviously, but the Plumlee stuff is, Mark Williams was like clearly, if you play fantasy season long, like he was like the easiest deadline winner here.
Okay, let's move to the Celtics side of things. Tatum was originally listed questionable today. He got upgraded to probable then available. So it sounds like he's good to go tonight. They have Malcolm Brogdon with a probable tag. They had Horford and Robert Williams both missed last game. Jaylen Brown broke his face, so Jaylen Brown's out. Robert Williams is listed as in, and Al Horford is listed as questionable. So a lot of different moving parts here. They just acquired Mike Muscala as well. Justin, what are your notes on the Celtics tonight?
Yeah, so obviously that Horford downgrade is a little concerning from probable to questionable. That's pretty clean because Time Lord said he'll play, he's available. So we'll see Grant Williams line up the starting lineup at the 4 if Horford is unable to go. We saw Brogdon get the second half start for Jaylen Brown last game when he left with that facial fracture. But I still am not expecting Brogdon to start a game. He has not started a game this season. I think that was more of a second half thing. So right now we're penciling in Pritchard along Derek White. They've went to that look before, I think a couple weeks ago. But I still expect a really big workload for Brogdon either way. And we saw him get all the way up to 35.4 minutes on Wednesday. We've seen him get to 34, 35 minutes in the recent past. So really good minutes upside. And then another guy, who benefited from them being game was Derek White. I mean, Derek White, 38.4 minutes on Wednesday, 37 minutes on Monday, like 37, 38 minutes the last 2 games. He's in for a really big workload once again, especially if Horford is out and Jalen's out obviously as well. So would be surprised if Muscala sees any rotation minutes right away. They don't really need him. They have Luke Cornett, Blake Griffin. So probably, give him some time to get acclimated, get his feet wet. I don't expect any limitations on Jason Tatum either. He went through his usual morning shoot-around routine this morning. He played 37 plus minutes on Wednesday with that illness. So I think he's in for a full workload too.
Yeah, Tatum. If Tatum didn't have an injury tag, I would have cover boyed him. He is going to dice up this Hornets defense. He's going to be breaking out the raid on the Hornets here today. But the only other thing is like it's probably I'm with you on Brogdon probably coming off the bench. Minutes are going to be huge. He's definitely the guy who benefits most, despite probably not getting a starting spot. It was between Pritchard or Sam Hauser to start, and I was just leaning Pritchard with the LaMelo Rozier factor. They like Pritchard's defense like a lot. He even guarded like Embiid in the post. They like really trust this dude to pick up a big defensive assignment. So definitely with you there. And just one quick thing to add on the Hornets. Need to put the eyes closed and earmuffs. G League box score. The Greensboro guys they're in Greensboro. Okay. So they would have to go up to Boston for the road game, which isn't too far. So sorry, but I'm doing my due diligence here. But it would be. I mean, you would, and they're playing Greensboro today, so. Maybe we could do some more research on what's going on there.
Yeah. Let's move to the Jazz. Jordan Clarkson got the midday Q tag downgrade, which is concerning. They obviously traded away Mike Conley, Malik Beasley, and Jared Vanderbilt. So there's a lot of open space and playing time available. Justin, how do you expect the Jazz to handle things? And what are your thoughts on Clarkson's availability tonight?
I mean, we know the same day addition, same day downgrade due to illness is a death knell this season. Database this season that I have 90+% are sitting. So really bad news for Clarkson. And that opens up a ton of opportunity for Colin Sexton and Lauri Markkanen, particularly to really carry the offense in that first unit. I would expect Agbaji to get his first start of the season. If Clarkson misses, there's been a lot of really good buzz and really good talk about him from people who cover the team who are expecting him to start sooner rather than later. And I think this is an opportunity for him to get in there. So assuming Clarkson misses, it would be Sexton, Agbaji, Markkanen, Olynyk, and Kessler. And that second unit would be THT, Fontecchio, Rudy Gay, Udoka Azubuike, and then maybe Bolmaro gets in the mix. So, Sexton, he led the team. They were obviously in a blowout against the Wolves last game, but he still played 31 plus minutes in that blowout. Really good to see that minutes floor from him after he was like kind of managed early on in the season, was playing like, teens, lower 20s. So, feel really good about his minutes, especially if Clarkson is out. So yeah, Sexton, Markkanen should have just really big roles today in that first unit if Clarkson's out particularly.
Yeah, echo everything you said. I believe Agbaji would start in his place. And just to add on, Taylon Tucker had a really big role, led the team in touch time, led the team in drives. I think it was like 17 drives per game. They want him to drive a lot. Against the Raptors team, I think they're going to want to really impact the rim there. Talk about the Raptors in a little bit. But yeah, I think Agbaji would play a ton, man, and he would be getting a lot of looks. We'd love to use jump shooters against the Raptors. So I'm curious to see what his price is. Dink and I will definitely talk about that.
The other thing that I note there, you're mentioning Taylon Tucker having a really big role. You move Malik Beasley and you move Mike Conley, which funnels Colin Sexton in the starting lineup. That's taking a lot of usage out of that second unit. And if you look at the guys that are available there to fill that usage, Taylon Tucker seems like the best option to be able to do that. So that bigger role may have some staying power to it during the course of the second half of the season here.
This is where those like THT like Hail Mary best ball shares come into play. We're thinking about what this Jazz team will look like post deadline, and we're thinking Clarkson would move too. But Clarkson stayed. But they moved enough though to where THT could be really interesting here down the stretch.
THT is on my 30-man team, so there you go.
There you go.
Held them all year.
Let's move to the Raptors. Nothing new on the injury report there still without OG Anunoby, who made it through the trade deadline as a Toronto Raptor. They did acquire Jakob Poeltl, who sounds like he's going to be available tonight. Is that the expectation, Mike?
I haven't seen anything. I don't know if I've been taking care of Brody's food. Fan, did you see something?
Yeah, so he said he's expected to play, or he will play, assuming he's cleared by the league. That's the only caveat, and that obviously involves the physicals and whatnot. So he will play if he's cleared. That's where we're at right now. So right now we haven't penciled in that starting lineup, and assuming he's going to go.
Yeah,
and how
I have him starting.
How do you think this impacts the Raptors rotation on the whole? We saw Boucher was a slate winner on Wednesday night. We've seen Precious Achiuwa have a much bigger role of late. Obviously, kind of acquiring a big, just it's another depth rotation piece. They have experience with Jakob Poeltl, having started his career in Toronto. What are your thoughts on how it influences the rotation here?
Yeah, I mean, it impacts those guys a lot. I mean, there's some quotes from Masai Ujiri saying that, he's going to be a great rim protector for them, yada, yada, yada. So that they feel pretty comfortable giving him a big role. And don't forget, I mean, this guy shoots a little bit more too. So that could maybe impact some of the other guys with FEV and so on. But we were seeing the tandem of Precious and Boucher sub in together a lot. So they might go that way. And you're subbing out Poeltl and probably Scotty Barnes in that spot. I think that would be huge. But they're going to play really, really big. So it definitely cuts down the upside of Precious. And Boucher, maybe, who's been playing really well, affects him. Thad probably goes bye-bye. Cloco obviously goes bye-bye. They don't need Hernan Gomez. They can run it really tight, with just a gigantic rotation. But yeah, should be fun. I'm excited to see how the Raptors use Poeltl.
Yeah, a couple notes from me. Don't forget, they traded a first-round pick for an expiring Poeltl, who they plan to extend. So they're not messing around here. This is a big move for them in terms of draft capital, and I think it was kind of an overpay. I was a little confused why they would do this, but they're going to play Jakob Poeltl a lot, and this is not going to be a situation where he's going to play like mid-20s minutes or something and be lost in the shuffle with all these other bigs. Like they clearly see him as a substantial upgrade over the rest of these options. And I will also note, on top of what Mike said about Jakob Poeltl shooting more than these other guys, these other big men whose minutes he's taken up, he comes in, is going to be instantly their best rebounder as well, and that should impact some of the rebound percentages of his teammates. On top of what Mike said, two of them playing some bigger lineups on top of that. So some rate stuff I think you should be thinking about if you're projecting some of these Raptors guys.
Yeah, some insight there into how I've been thinking about things as well is also Poeltl. These last 2 years in San Antonio, he's had a much greater usage rate than he ever had before. And I think that is due to the lack of quality of usage teammates that he's been playing with. So I went back down to a more modest usage rate for him relative to where he was in the past with Toronto and different teams like that. And then I'd also note that Siakam is a guy whose rebound rate has really taken a hit without OG Anunoby, which seems really strange. But just with the guys that they've played in the rotations they've played a lot bigger. And if they're going to have Pirtle in the mix as well, I think they're just going to keep pushing Pascal kind of down the hierarchy in terms of more of a guard wing than a big, which might impact the rebounding rate and the ceiling kind of going forward. We saw him have a ceiling game last game against San Antonio, shooting 15 for 21, scoring 37 points, but still just had 10 rebounds in that game. And you look, Boucher, Achua, Barnes, all kind of around there. And then long term, I kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts. Is one of Boucher or Achua like going away? Are they? I know Thad Young is. I know Hernan Gomez likely is. Flynn likely is. So on and so forth. But when they get healthy with OG, is Precious or Boucher at risk as well? What are your thoughts here, Gallagher?
I don't think so. I think they're just going to play huge. I mean, they're comfortable playing that way. So they're obviously the minute ceiling comes way down. And maybe if they're playing, teams that fire threes or something like that, where rim protection is not a priority at all, maybe there's spots. But I think more often than not, we're going to see like mid-ish teens kind of minutes. Maybe if they're hot, maybe cutting into. We see Scotty lose minutes to these guys. So that's another thing too. Maybe Scotty's minutes aren't as safe. He's been playing a little bit better. I should mention too, Pascal Siakam had a really big impactful drive game, 18 points. Actually 16 points on 18 drives. Excuse me. But yeah, I feel pretty good about them not going away. Obviously, I think Precious has kind of earned a more solidified every night role. I don't know what you think, man.
Yeah, I'm with you. They'll play big, man. And Trent's going to go to the bench. He's going to see his minutes scale back as well. They'll play Scotty at the point if they need to. They'll play Pascal Siakam freaking at the 2 if they need to too.
Yeah.
Like they're just going to play big. And Precious is cemented. I don't see him going away at all. Maybe Boucher on some nights, but I feel decent about him staying in there. They're just like very. This is their team, man. They like 6 to 8 guys who can't shoot, and they'll play those 6 to 8 guys at point guard if they need to too, and kill the spacing. But I mean, we've seen this from years from her, so they'll just kind of continue to do what they've done more extreme level.
Yeah. One more thing to add really quick with the matchup, if I can. So we saw these guys play not too long ago, and it was a freaking shootout, man. This is the box score from that game. This is the infamous Blocker-Kessler game. They were attacking the rim. Scotty Barnes got 23 shots. Almost all of them were around the basket. Really, really good game to target today. I'm very excited for this one. And I'm probably hoping Pirtle doesn't play because I think that will definitely help the rates and minutes and all that stuff for the other guys. But, really good game environment. We talked about the Jazz a ton, so this is one of my favorite games on the slate.
Let's move to Houston. No Kevin Porter Jr. still. They trade out Eric Gordon, Garrison Matthews, Bruno Fernando. They get in Justin Holiday, Frank Kaminsky, John Wall, some guys that are going to waive, and so on and so forth. What are your expectations tonight, Justin, in terms of how losing Eric Gordon?
Yep. So Giannis probable, Chris Middleton out. We just got the injury report for the Bucks. I'm just trying to see. I think that's
no problem.
Yeah,
I can take the lead on that. Well, fans,
Mike, I'll go to you on Houston. How do you expect things to look without Eric Gordon here for the Rockets tonight?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Luka's officially out. Thank you, fan. So the question is who's starting, right? We know Jalen Green's going to start. We know KJ Martin's going to start. We know Jabari Smith's going to start, and Goon's going to start. So it's going to be between Jayshawn Tate, Torrey Eason, please God, or Daisha Nix. I mean, maybe Christopher. I'm honestly leaning Tate. He's a trusted guy by Silas. I think the minutes cap isn't quite as bad. We saw him hit 25 minutes in the last game, and he's clumped into this ball handler group. They've got this ball handler group now that's only a trio with Eric Gordon gone now. So I think they trust him enough to pick up some ball handling in their first unit, take some pressure off Green. I think that's really important to Silas. So I would prioritize a little bit more, and I don't think that they like the chemistry between Nix and Green as much. So I would lean Jayshawn Tate picking up the starting spot there and having some value, kind of slipped under the radar. I hope I'm wrong, and I hope it's Torrey Eason. We saw last weekend when they didn't have Gordon and Jayshawn Tate, Eason was subbed in early as a 3. So they've been leaning more into this Torrey Eason 3 thing. Their defense has been horrible. We've seen Eason guard in space on defense. That could be a role he can grow into. So this is honestly probably one of the most exciting starting spots I'm looking to see today. Because if it's Eason, oh baby, it's party time for people who've been hoping for something. I don't think that's going to happen, but definitely something that could happen. This team needs to shake things up. They're going up 130 every night, 140, 150. So yeah, I'm curious. What are you leaning? Knicks, Tate, or Eason, or anybody, or Christopher, or anything like that? Fan, where are you at on the fifth starter?
Yeah, in these situations, you know me, it's more about predicting what the coaches will do rather than what they should do. I'm going to go just with what they've done. And we have Daishen Nix projected starting right now. We'll mention Justin Holiday, Kaminsky are unlikely to debut, so they won't have Holiday, Kaminsky, or Danny Green. Danny Green's still working on a situation, possible buyout candidate. They're maybe hoping he stays as like a vet shooter on, off the bench. But anyways, like right now we have it, Knicks, Jalen, KJ Martin, Smith, and Şengün. A couple of things. The beat writers have talked about this is a spot for Josh Christopher where it finally clears up minutes for him. So they're expecting him to be a winner off this deadline. We're also monitoring, does this mean Ty Washington gets a look now? That's also something we're looking at. And then the third thing we're looking at is how much Garuba are we going to see now without Bruno Fernando? And are we going to see them stick with the traditional center and go Goon and Garuba? Or are we going to see them embrace smaller lineups now with Jabari Smith seeing more time there? I would lean more towards smaller lineups because, they haven't shown a real inclination towards Garuba, and they have way more talented players at the 3-4 that they can slide down in Tari Eason and Jae'Sean Tate. So those are some rotational stuff we're looking at. But yeah, it should be really good opportunities for Christopher, Tate, and Tari Eason now that they kind of cleared out the deck a little bit, and those new guys won't be available to debut.
Yeah, I would think that they'd lean into more of like a ball handler alongside Jalen Green, because without Eric Gordon, you need some sort of floor spacing. And if Jalen Green's got kind of the ball in his hands, that kind of defeats some of the spacing aspect of things. And obviously he'll have the ball in his hands a ton. They'll work through things with him off dribble handoff and actions and stuff like that. But this lineup doesn't have a lot of shooting. They're going to really need Jabari to come through as a shooter, which has not been the case so far this year. Let's move to the Heat. Kyle Lowry still ruled out. Victor Oladipo still out. Gabe Vincent listed probable. They don't make any moves at the deadline. One of the few teams not to make any sort of move at the deadline. Any news or notes here, fan, on your Miami Heat?
No, we'll just kind of run it back. I think 8-man rotation again tonight with Strus, Highsmith, Orlando Robinson off the bench. We didn't see Jamal Cain. We didn't see Booyah. I think we're expecting the same thing. Gabe Vincent will start at the point. Tyler Hero, last 2 games, 39 minutes a game. He'll see huge minutes once again. And we'll see 35, 36 from Bam, Gabe Vincent, and Jimmy Butler. Caleb's been averaging at 34. So, 8-man rotation and kind of the same thing we've seen the last 2 games is what I'm expecting.
Yeah, 2 things to add. Man, Hero's running some tough matchups. He gets the cake one. So expecting a Hero bounce back. I was overfading him last game with Nembhard being a really good screen navigator against the drop killer, as Bullshit likes to call him. So expecting a Hero bounce back today. And Bam's offensive role is really taking off, man. Comments from Jimmy about, just giving him the ball more. Jimmy had a quote saying, hey, we'll beat teams with 2s all day. And their defense has been awesome, man. I'm still waiting for Bam to close the gap here on Jaren Jackson for Defensive Player of the Year. He's been just freaking awesome, my guy.
Yeah. They don't call it Big Math Coffee; they call it Big Mouth Coffee. Let's go to the Wolves, who have Rudy Gobert and Kyle Anderson listed questionable on the injury report. They get Mike Conley at the trade deadline, as well as Nickeil Alexander-Walker. They lose D'Angelo Russell. Justin, any expectation on Gobert or Slow-Mo here? They both missed the last game. Slow-Mo's missed the last 2 now. And then also, is Mike Conley going to be available to make his debut for the Timberwolves tonight?
Yeah, so Gobert, we're past this, procedural questionable mark where I am actually legitimately concerned that he could miss because he only played 19 minutes in the first leg of the back-to-back and then sat the second leg. So that was a little surprising to me. Maybe it was deadline related or something. I have no idea, but I think he's, decent chance of missing. I would lean towards them playing, but don't have a strong lean on that. Mike Conley and NAW were expected to be available for shoot around. I think they'll be available to play tonight. So as of this moment, we have the starting lineup as Conley, Ant, McDaniels, Slow-Mo, and Gobert. Could see Taurean Prince fill in there for Slow-Mo if he's out, and we'll know that Austin Rivers is back from his suspension as well. So that bench unit should be something like McLaughlin, Noel, Rivers, Prince, and Naz Reid, assuming everybody else is ready to go. My kind of observation here is, how does the addition of Mike Conley, swapping Mike Conley for D'Lo, affect the Wolves' pace? The Wolves have been a top 5 pace team pretty much the entire season. You look at Conley's history when he's been in Utah, they've been league average at best. So really curious to see if adding him to the mix now instead of D'Lo kind of slows them down, and to what extent.
I don't think it'll affect them much. I think Finch wants to play fast, so I think Conley will have to play into Anthony. This is Anthony Edwards' offense now, and I think that's why they traded D'Lo. They're selling pretty low here on D'Lo, right? To get an Agent Conley another year in his deal. Certainly, there's other factors with paying off D'Lo. You're gonna have to pay Ant the max, all that stuff. But I don't think it would be much. And just to add on Gobert, worth noting that both of his games he missed, front end of a back-to-back, back end of a back-to-back. So I think that was probably drawn up that way, even though we had the light minutes. So I feel pretty good about him playing. A little bit more concerned on Slow-Mo, playing through the back stuff, possible minutes limit. There was some quotes earlier, maybe 2 months ago, about playing him too much. But I'm not worried about too much about the pace. And one other thing to add too, man, the Conley Gobert chemistry, man, is going to be big time. So Rudy Gobert, like low key winner here. I like playing guys against this new front court that the Grizzlies are trotting out there. They've missed Steven Adams in a big way, giving up a lot of rim stuff. So I think this could be a really good spot for Gobert here with his lob buddy back. Conley's been passing really well, season high in assists this year too. But Dink, do you think, how are you adjusting rates on Conley with the first unit there?
Yeah, not too much, letting stuff scale mostly, and giving Anthony Edwards a decent usage boost into the low 30s now. So kind of expecting what you're saying in terms of it's his team. I did have some usage docs on Rudy Gobert that I removed with Mike Conley. So naturally expecting kind of things to get back for him, but we'll see. Time will tell on that. Let's move to the Grizzlies. Steven Adams still out there. They trade Danny Green. They acquire Luke Kennard. Kennard will not be available tonight. Kind of go quickly here. I don't think there's much to cover, but Justin, any notes on the Grizzlies?
Nope. I think it's kind of what we expected. Kennard's not playing. Yeah. I think we can move on.
Okay.
Desmond Bain cover boy. That's all I'm going to say.
You get a whole DFS show to talk your matchup.
All right, I said Desmond Bain cover boy. I said 4 words. I didn't, and these words to explain that, and then that, and that.
Cavs get Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland back tonight. Ricky Rubio will rest. They didn't really make any deadline moves. I think we can kind of move past them pretty quickly. Pelicans, they traded Devontae Graham and got Josh Richardson. I don't think it's a huge deal. Kyra Lewis has kind of been playing those minutes anyway for Devontae Graham. They're still without Zion Williamson, so I think that's fairly stable. We can move to the Thunder, who have a questionable tag on Lou Dort. We haven't seen Lou Dort in a while. Any news or notes on the potential return for Lou Dort tonight, Justin?
Yeah, he's been scaling up. I mean, the reports have been pretty good. I think he has a good chance of returning tonight. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, very good. We've seen guys returning from injuries get the Q tag. Usually, it's the midday upgrade to a Q tag that the Thunder do. So I feel pretty good about him playing here. And he would get Dame, right? Dame's actually had some trouble in the Dort chamber. We'll see if Dort is up to his usual tricks. Because he was cooking. We talked about, played Levine into the Dort chamber and this and that. But the last 5-6 games before he got hurt, he was clamping peeps. So Dame's been running pretty hot. We were able to slay the dragon and take a Dame under and hit it, luckily, in the last game. But, I'm excited for this game, man. How can you not be excited about OKC? And then, I'll be nice to Dank and say Lynn Williams is going to be starting who played great, man. I think he had 35 front court touches. Really impactful game on both ends. His passing's been really good. He's been great in the pocket and like hitting backdoor cutters. And then fans guy, Jalen Williams, J-Dub.
Len Williams.
J-Dub.
Yeah, Len, I gave you one. But I can't do both. I can't like all the way lean into it. But dude, just domination. Transition game's been so strong. His steals numbers are so good, man.
He's so good. And this is what we were talking about in the preseason pod when Gallagher and I were hyping Jalen Williams and Jeremy Sohan. We were making the distinction. Jalen Williams is actually good, and we think Jeremy Sohan's going to see a ton of minutes. That's about it. But yeah, I mean, Jalen Williams is legit good. Like, he's one of the best rookies in this class, clearly.
First team, baby.
Let's go.
Len, and Rich Williams. Find out more.
I'm also glad that we got Mescal out of the mix, so I don't have to sweat second half starters as much. For the.
Don't count your chickens with the
right.
JC and
Robinson Earl. Yeah, Robinson Earl's on the way back. Yeah, I know. I'm prepared. I'm gonna just enjoy this little period of time though, where it's just.
It's too bad mooses aren't. Mooses don't lay eggs. I'd say don't count your mooses before they hatch. But or is it just moose? Don't count your moose.
Your meese. Let's move to the Blazers. Keon Johnson listed as questionable, and it's kind of a big deal because they're pretty thin on the injury report. They're without Yusuf Nurkic. They traded Gary Payton. They're without Justice Winslow. They traded Josh Hart. They're without Greg Brown, who's not with the team. So things are getting kind of thin for Portland here. They do get Cam Reddish back in this whole mix of the trades. I don't know if there's an expectation of when he'll be available. What are your thoughts here, Justin? Do we see Keon Johnson? Do we see Cam Reddish? How tight are we going to see the Blazers play tonight?
They might be real tight because they waived Greg Brown too. Unless they want to get John Butler in the mix, it gets pretty thin. So I would expect really elevated minute scores from these guys. Josh Hart is listed out already for the Knicks on the other part of this deal. So I'd be kind of surprised if Reddish or any of these other guys, Tybal, Kevin Knox, RJ Diakono are available to play. So right now I'm going in with the assumption that they're not available. That obviously really thins things out because, like you said, they dealt away GP2 too. So it could be, a lot of Shaedon Sharp off the bench. Nasir Little are going to have to play big roles. Watford, I think, got up to 31 minutes last game. So yeah, they're going to play really tight, and obviously raises the minute scores of the starters as well.
Yeah, a couple things to add. So they've been employing this switch-heavy scheme with Watford that I think is going to be really important against Shea, right? Shea runs a lot of pick and roll, wants to get downhill. Switch-heavy scheme would work in that role. So I'm kind of into trend in Watford, who's been playing really well lately. So something to note there. Jeremy Grant, without Nurk, without Hart, a lot of rebounding available. He is going to get the SGA matchup. He's actually done a pretty good job there. So he's going to have a huge role on both sides of the ball. But I do like him quite a bit today overall. But yeah, they're real thin. We'll see how much Nas Little plays. He got kind of doghoused for some defensive mistakes. We saw his minutes really slide before the last game. So expecting him to start probably a little bit of Jabari Walker. He was, a dark horse to start back in the preseason. Expect him to play a little bit more if they don't have their other guys back yet.
We got the Luka Hockey.
We saw Shaedon get all the way up to 7 rebounds last game, by the way. Obviously small sample, but can't understate that Josh Hart has been one of the best rebounding rebounders at his position, and obviously a big reason why.
Hart and Nurkic.
Yeah. So
there's a lot of rebounds available if they can keep the same rebound rate. We'll see if they suffer as a team from a rebounding perspective, but there's a lot of potential rebounds available without Hart and Nurkic there.
One other thing to add super quick too, we saw Shaedon Sharp pick up basically the non-guard minutes, right? They had basically a 3-guard rotation, huge minutes though from Damon Ant. So now leaking into the 3 minutes now, Sharp could definitely play a little bit more. So he's actually maybe a little bit on the board here.
Mm-hmm. We got the Luka Hokey Pokey earlier today. He was expected to return today. Shams had to back off that as the heel gave him some trouble when he was working out this morning. They are on the front end of a back-to-back. Now he's not expected to play tonight. So it looks like we're going to see the same version of the Mavs and their big two, Kyrie Irving and Reggie Bullock, tonight. Any other notes here, Justin?
No, I think we saw a hint of that last game. They ran a 10-man with JaVale as the 10th. Kyrie, I think upper 20s, lower 30s usage again. It's Kyrie, Jalen Green, THJ, Bullock, and Powell. in that starting lineup with McKinley Wright, Jane Hardy, Theo Pinson, and Christian Wood. So Christian Wood somehow survived the trade deadline. I think I saw a tweet about
I got it up here ready for you.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah. There. Yeah. Him and Kevin Love survived the deadline. Korkmaz and his trade demand survived too. So
yeah.
Surprised.
I mean, he survived he's still in the Mavericks, but did his fantasy value survive? I mean, 17 minutes last game. Yeah. Gallagher, what are your thoughts on minutes expectation for Christian Wood? This is a guy that was playing like low 30s for a period of time without Maxi Kleber, and now has been sort of relegated to a much, much smaller role, even without Luka. What are your thoughts on like Christian Wood minutes tonight?
Not good, man. I think they're going to bring him along slowly. I'm expecting more minutes. Maybe it was trade deadline related. Now that they're after the deadline, maybe the minutes come up, but certainly not expecting upper 20s. I think that they want to just integrate him because he's such a funky fit. We talked a lot about this. I think that it's Luka's out, so we know what the starters are going to be. But I've been going back and forth on who's starting between Josh Green and Tim Hardaway Jr. Obviously, Reggie Bullock's going to start. Reggie Bullock has been the guy who picks up the toughest matchup, sort of. He guarded Paul George, who handles the ball more than Kawhi, and he guarded Lauri Markkanen. So I went in thinking it's THJ for continuity reasons, but I really think it's Josh Green. Again, that's when they get Luka back. So I think tomorrow would be, I think, Kyrie, Luka, Josh, Reggie, and Dwight Powell. Just because I just think I told my new joke is he's the new DFS. So Underdog could sponsor him. Like, hey, look, I'm Josh Green. I'm the new DFS. Come play Underdog. It's new DFS. Use promo code Wing Defender. Like that's the way to go. But are you with me on leaning Green? Go ahead.
Yeah, on the probable starters in advance of tonight's game when Luka was or last game when Luka was presumed in, Josh Green was the listed projected starter ahead of THJ. So it was Luka, Kyrie, Josh Green, Dwight Powell, and Reggie Bullock. So I'm with you. I mean, the projected starters that they listed were the same. Yeah.
King's got nothing going on that we need to tackle there. You guys, we saw the mid-show interruption from the Bucks injury report. So Justin, why don't you just fill the people in there? They acquired Jay Crowder at the deadline. I'm assuming that's going to take some time for Jay to get with the team, get in shape. I don't know if he's been working out. I don't know what he's been doing all season. So what are your thoughts on the Bucks tonight with no Chris Middleton?
Yeah, I think Crowder's probably a week or two away, if we're being realistic. And yeah, Middleton has been getting ramped up. He's 24, 25 minutes last game. So those minutes should go back to Javon Carter, Marjon Beauchamp, kind of distribute among those guys. And that's a decent amount of usage too. That's freed up now because I think Middleton was like low 30s usage last game. He's been really ramping up and looking really good. So frees up, some for Drew Holiday, I think. He was like upper teens usage last game. So Giannis, obviously probable tag. We'll keep an eye on that just in case because this is a back-to-back, but they haven't really hit us with that those shenanigans yet this season. So expecting him to go.
Yeah. And Jay Crowder possibly put him on the injury report for a finger injury after he posted during the deadline. But I think he nailed it definitely. Now this Dink's been saying, hey, Mike feels good about the probable tag. Not today, everyone. Do not feel good about that probable tag in late scratch land crypto where probable tags go to die.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see with the Bucks tonight and the Clippers. Obviously, two teams known for late scratches. On the Clippers side, Kawhi Leonard has been ruled out already. They made a bunch of trades at the deadline. Pick up Eric Gordon, pick up Mason Plumlee, pick up Bones Highland. We talked about them as some of the biggest winners in our eyes. They got rid of Reggie Jackson in that whole mix. So things could be a little bit tighter tonight. Justin, what's your read on what you would expect the Clippers to look like tonight with, no Luke Kennard, no Reggie Jackson anymore?
Yeah, I mean, that bench definitely thins out. So those new guys won't be available. They're listed out on the official Clippers PR injury report. So Terrence Mann, Paul George, Mook, Batum, and Zubac are projected starters at the moment. And then that bench gets pretty freaking thin. So should be a lot of Norm Powell, Covington in there. We have Amir Coffey projected, and then you got to dig into like, you know, the back end of their bench, like the Diabates, Moses Brown, Prestons, Boston Juniors, to fill out the rest of the rotation. So you have like 8 that I feel good about in Powell, Coffey, and Covington. And then where are you guys leaning in terms of giving minutes to some of these other guys who are the 9th, potential 10th guys on the rotation?
Yeah,
go ahead.
We have some minutes currently for Jason Preston, and we have like a spare minute for Musa Diabate. So we are digging deep here in terms of the minutes, but we have it pretty condensed on the main guys. And of course, the note as well is this minutes limitation expectation on both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. So, you know, we've got Paul George at 33 because of that. What are your thoughts, Gallagher, on the minutes limit for PG as well?
Yeah, Lou he sounded almost depressed that he had a minutes cap on these guys. Because I think that he thinks that it cost him the game against Dallas, honestly. So I think he's going to stick to it. I think 33 is a pretty good number. There's a chance that he is, you know, maybe the Clippers try to hire the Bogdan trainer and just like, hey, yeah, just whatever, let him go. But yeah, I think 33 and a half is probably a good number, which sucks, man, because we've seen Kawhi hit like 39, 40 and all that. So having that possibly off the table is definitely a little bit of a buzzkill.
They have 3 full days off after this game too. They didn't play till Tuesday is their next game. So, but I still think it's going to be like 32 to 34 because that's what the minutes range like looks like it's going to be. I think 33 is right and smack dab in the middle. That's right for me. But I mean, adding that minutes limit of Paul George on top of losing, you know, all their bench guys that they traded away and not having their new bench guys really condenses and really raises the minutes scores of a lot of these other guys, you know, kind of surrounding PG.
Yeah, should be a good spot for Norm Powell usage tonight.
Great spot.
Well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. We got through all 11 games on this massive post-trade deadline slate. As always, please support the people who are supporting us. This show is brought to you by our friends at Underdog Fantasy. They have daily NBA snake drafts running for huge cash prizes. If you're playing NBA Pick'em, in-season subscribers can use our tool to compare ETR projections to their fantasy Pick'em games. If you haven't signed up for Underdog yet, use promo code ETR for a matching deposit bonus up to $100. That's promo code ETR at underdogfantasy.com. As always, if you're interested in subscribing to ETR, you can go to the Established Run Subscribe NBA page, get details on all of our packages. Myself and Mike Gallagher will be behind the paywall tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern, breaking down this 11-game slate from a DFS perspective, including the flag plans, which we posted on our social. We had the social team cut up the Wednesday flag plan from Jalen Noel. Big night for a lot of subscribers there. We will hope to see if we can repeat that level of flag plant tonight on the premium show. As always, if you are uninterested in giving us your hard-earned dollars, we ask for your hard-earned clicks. Subscribe to this YouTube page, get notifications whenever we go live. You can also on this YouTube page, if you want to look back through videos and you didn't join us yesterday, can check out our trade analysis show that we went live yesterday with, breaking down the winners and the losers from the trade deadline. Check that out as well. And of course, smash that like button and feed that algorithm. Help us feed our families. We'll keep feeding you the DFS and injury report analysis that you need to make your DFS lineups and prop bets. Big weekend of basketball, big weekend of eating ahead as well. Super Bowl Sunday. Enjoy it all. Nom, 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 nom. Have a great weekend, everybody.